Hello and welcome back. Once again, we ended the previous video having spoken about CPI, and we saw that prices in SA have been steadily rising, which means the amount that you are paying for your university fees this year are more than what they were last year, and the amount that you will pay in the next year to come is going to be more than what you paid this year, so sorry for you. So that's prices. What about output? What has our GDP been doing? How well has our economy been performing? Well, we got some figures here for GDP. So what do we see? Well, we see that our economy has gone from 1.7 trillion to around 3 trillion. So, seem to be doing all right at first glance. Let's look at a picture of some stuff. Well, who's contributing? Guess who this is? GP. So this is where most of our economic performance comes from. Northern Cape, Free State letting us down a little bit. KZN, Western Cape, second place contenders over there. And what sort of economic activity is happening in these different provinces? Well, let's see, agriculture, forestry and fishing. Do we expect much of that in Gauteng? Gauteng, only 6% of South Africa's agriculture happens in Gauteng. Not surprising. Where does most of it happen? KZN and Western Cape. Is that surprising? Well, fishing, you kind of need to be near the ocean, like the Western Cape. So, what about mining? Mining used to be important in the South African economy. Where does most of it take place? Not in Gauteng, actually, the Northwest and in Mpumalanga. But far more important, if we're talking about an economy that wants to grow and not rely simply on resources that have been placed under the ground that we pull up, right? We want an economy that actually manufactures goods and services that people can use. Well, then we are interested in things like manufacturing and construction. Where does our manufacturing happen? Primarily Gauteng. Also KZN and Western Cape. What about construction? Again, Gauteng. 43% of all the construction that happens in our country happens in GP. And you can see in general, most of the big numbers happen in Gauteng. What happens Eastern Cape? You're a bit of an underperformer. That's not really surprising. What is the best thing that they offer? Personal services. I could be wrong, but I think personal services includes things like B&Bs, bit of tourism. Yeah. Other than that, they don't really contribute much. Shame for them. Huh. Northern Cape, even worse. But Northern Cape is the Karoo, so not surprising. Right. What does Stats SA have to say about our people? Well, there are two publications that they release. One is the Census. This does not happen regularly. The other is the mid-year population estimates, which happens every mid-year. If you were around in 2011, you probably remember the census people coming along to the door and asking some pretty personal and annoying questions, and everyone had to do it, and if you didn't, then there were legal consequences. Well, that information has now been published in Census 2011. The information, however, that we have, that information is not exactly presented in the most wonderful format, but if you're interested, you can click on that PDF and go find out. What we do have is in our McConnell textbook, we have the census data from the previous census and the mid-year population estimates from 2009. And what we see in this nice colorful table is that most of our population is either in Gauteng or KZN, with the Eastern Cape making up a large chunk, and then the Western Cape, which is interesting. So here we have a big chunk of our population contributing, where were we? Here we go, GDP, contributing not very much to our GDP. So what are all those people in the Eastern Cape doing? Not very much. It's part of the problem. We've got high unemployment. Okay, so large percentage of our population, KZN and Gauteng. What does our population look like? Well, we've got almost, well, in 2009 there was an estimate of nearly 19 million what we would call male African people, and nearly 20 million female African people. Total population of almost 50 million. 79% of our population being African, and 9% white, 9% colored, with a couple of Indians and Asians thrown in to spice things up. Excuse the pun. Okay, cool. If we do look at the more recent population estimates and we compare them, so this is mid-year population 2011. If we look at these numbers, we look at the percentage of the population, you can see our population has only increased by a very small amount in those 2 years. So between 2009 and 2011, the number goes from 49 million to just over 50 million, and our percentage of population stays fairly constant. A couple of people leave the Free State and move into Gauteng. Right. Overall population still largely black, 79%, with coloreds and whites making up 9% respectively. So pretty similar to what it was. What I did find interesting was that if we look at the land area, right? So here's our land area in 2009, 1.2 million square kilometers, right? Which is based on the 2001 estimate. Our land area has increased. Our country has got bigger in 10 years between 2001 and 2011. And I thought, what? I got really excited until I read this little note which says, the shift of the national boundary over the Indian Ocean in the northeast corner of KZN, blah blah blah, led to an increase in SA's land area. So we just claimed some of the ocean. Awesome. You can see that some of the provinces, however, have changed size. What's that all about? Well, take a look at the map that they give us. You can see some of the Northern Cape, or some of the Northwest was claimed by the Northern Cape. Mpumalanga and Limpopo did a bit of a swap there. KZN and Eastern Cape did some swapping over there. Interesting boundary wars. Nice waste of resources as all the administrative staff sort that out. Okay, so that tells us something about our demography. And let's leave it there and come back for another video.